One of the most modern things in your life is probably something you almost never think about. In winter, you can leave your bed, cross the room, walk down the hall, get dressed, make coffee, and sit somewhere else in the house without treating temperature like a problem. That feels normal. For most of history, it would have felt luxurious, because people did not live in warm houses. Not really. They lived in cold houses with a few small places that could be made less cold for a while. And that difference changed everything. Once the building itself is cold, daily life stops being simple. Suddenly, warmth is not the background. It is something you chase, protect, and ration. And that means a house is no longer one stable environment. It becomes a map of better and worse places to exist. That is the first thing worth understanding. Before central heating, people usually were not trying to warm the whole house. In many cases, that would have been too expensive, too inefficient, or simply impossible. Heat leaked out. Smoke caused problems. Fuel took labor. Fires needed constant attention. So instead of heating the house, people heated themselves inside the house. That was the system. And once you see that, a lot of old life starts making more sense. The hearth was not just a cozy feature. It was the center of usable life. It gave heat, but also light, boiled water, hot food, and the one part of the room where sitting still might actually feel good. A few feet mattered. Close to the fire, your hands worked. Further away, they stiffened. Turn one direction, your face warmed up. Turn the other, your back reminded you it was still winter. That is hard for a modern person to feel intuitively because our heat is spread out. Theirs usually was not. Theirs stayed close. Close to flame. Close to cloth. Close to the body. And once warmth stays close, people begin organizing their lives around little islands of relief. Sleeping is a good example. Today, if your bedroom is cold, that feels like a problem with the house. In the past, the room itself might just be cold. That was normal, so the goal was not always to heat the room. The goal was to make the bed survivable. That is why bed curtains mattered. They were not just decorative. They held warmer air around the sleeper and blocked some of the moving cold in the room. In some homes, warming pans filled with hot coals were run through the sheets before bed. It sounds charming until you really see it. A dark room, cold floorboards, cold linen, a little metal pan radiating heat in the half-light. And the bed only becomes bearable because someone has pushed a temporary pocket of warmth into it. That was the logic of winter life for centuries. Not total comfort. Targeted comfort. Not make the house warm. Make this chair warmer. Make this bed warmer. Make these hands warmer. Make this meal hot. Make this hour manageable. And that logic did not stop at sleep. It changed what people wore indoors. Today, being inside usually means you can shed layers. In the past, being inside in winter often meant staying layered because the house was shelter, not climate control. Caps stayed on. Stockings stayed on. Wool stayed on. Shawls stayed close. People were often dressing not just for the weather outside, but for the weather that had followed them indoors. And this is where the story gets bigger than fireplaces and blankets. Cold changes behavior. It changes how fast you dress, how long you want to stay out of bed, whether washing feels refreshing or punishing, whether reading is pleasant, whether sewing, mending, writing, or just sitting still feels easy or irritating. Cold turns small actions into physical decisions. That is the hidden reality modern people miss. When we picture the past, we often picture the look of it. Candlelight, heavy furniture, frosted windows, maybe a fire. But the real difference was not visual. It was bodily. Cold fingers, cold floors, cold air in the nose. The reluctance to undress. The urge to stay near heat once you found it. That is what shaped everyday life. And then there was the cost. Because warmth before central heating was not just scarce, it was labor. Wood had to be chopped, hauled, dried, stacked, and fed into the fire. Coal had to be bought, carried, and managed. Ash had to be cleared out. Smoke had to leave the room. Fires died. Rooms cooled quickly. The system kept demanding attention. Warmth had to be maintained. That also meant winter was unequal in a very sharp way. Wealthier households could afford more fuel, better fabrics, better built spaces, and more labor devoted to keeping rooms usable. Poorer households often faced damp walls, thinner bedding, less fuel, more smoke, and harder choices. Burn more now, or save it for later? That question sat underneath everyday life for a long time. So yes, people stayed warm before central heating, but only if we define warm correctly. They stayed warm in parts. Warm in bed, warm by the hearth, warm inside layers, warm while eating, warm while moving. What they often did not have was what we have now, the expectation that an entire home should feel evenly livable in winter. And that is why central heating changed far more than comfort. It changed what indoors meant. Once heat could move through an entire building, the house stopped being a patchwork of warm spots and cold gaps. Bedrooms became less punishing. Hallways became usable. Bathrooms became ordinary. You could move through your own home without planning your body around the location of heat. That sounds small. It is not small. It changed mornings. It changed privacy. It changed routine. It changed the physical meaning of home. Central heating did not just make houses warmer. It helped invent the modern expectation that home should protect you not only from weather outside, but from having to think about the weather at all. And that may be the strangest part. For most people who ever lived, winter inside the house was still winter. Home was not automatically warm. It was just the place where you tried, as best you could, to keep the cold from winning.